The WNBA-sponsored headlines make a bold claim that Paige Bueckers has some kind of unprecedented off-court influence on the WNBA. But once you strip away the buzzwords, the story completely falls apart, and her hoax just got majorly exposed. What's being sold as a natural rise is anything but that. This isn't organic momentum or fan-driven popularity. It's a carefully engineered narrative, pushed aggressively by a league that seems determined to manufacture relevance instead of earning it, unlike superstars like Caitlin Clark. Why do you think the WNBA is pushing Bueckers so hard? Let us know down in the comments below.
I saw this new sponsorship and I was like, my. What links we will go to as companies out there to continue to deliver the message. That's right. Continue to deliver the agenda. And nobody fits that agenda better than Paige Bueckers. My goodness, she checks all kinds of boxes, including the Yukon Mafia box. Oh yeah, you're in.
The idea that Paige Bueckers has this massive, unmatched impact is being forced into the conversation despite clear evidence that it simply doesn't exist. This isn't about who resonates with fans. It's about pushing a message the league wants told, whether or not the audience actually buys it.
You look at the Paige Bueckers Nike logo. Does this look like they really wanted to do this, or they were just catering to that crowd? So they said, oh, let's just get up Paige and let's give her a logo. Let's cater to the crowd. PB, paint bucket. This looks like a paint can. This doesn't look like they're all in on Paige. This looks like they threw something together just to appease the slows. Fair enough.
Resources are being poured into elevating a player who, in reality, does not drive national attention. We're told sponsors are lining up for Bueckers, and the obvious question becomes why? Is this truly market demand, or are companies being nudged toward a league-approved narrative? Because the push feels artificial. It feels like a coordinated attempt to crown a star, regardless of what the numbers say. And the numbers tell a very different story about who fans actually show up for.
You look at Caitlin Clark, the Wilson basketball, selling like hotcakes. The Kobe PEs, selling like hotcakes. The Barbie, selling like hotcakes. The action figures, selling like hotcakes. The Funko Pop, selling like hotcakes. Merchandise, selling like hotcakes. T-shirts, selling like hotcakes. It's not the same case with everybody else. And now the latest company to just take money and throw it down the drain is a company I grew up with. It's a company I grew up with. I think many of us had these. Paige Bueckers signs a deal with Lego as she prepares to be the next signature athlete.
Take the Lego sponsorship as an example. On paper, it sounds impressive, but in practice, it makes very little sense. From a business perspective, it's hard to see any meaningful return. Paige Bueckers is not pulling in new audiences who are suddenly going out to buy Lego sets. She appeals to a small, already existing slice of basketball fans. That's it. This isn't a savvy investment based on mass appeal. It's a branding exercise built on the false assumption that she has widespread cultural pull. The league is betting on optics instead of outcomes, and fans are starting to notice.
Why they hate Caitlin Clark and why they love somebody like Paige Bueckers. By the way, that doesn't draw shit on a national level. Just keeping it real. I mean, Lego, and that's what this is about. She's landed a Lego sponsorship. I mean, Lego may as well just taken that money and just lit it on fire. Just light it aflame. Because Paige Bueckers not drawing anybody to buy Legos.
That becomes painfully clear when you put this narrative next to the reality of Caitlin Clark. Clark didn't need a PR campaign to become a phenomenon. She landed a reported $28 million Nike deal because the demand was undeniable. She stacked endorsements because brands saw real value. You cannot, with a straight face, call Bueckers' off-court presence unprecedented when Clark is literally rewriting what women's basketball marketability looks like in real time. The comparison isn't just flawed, it's dishonest. One player's popularity is being inflated, while the other's is being intentionally minimized. This all points back to a deeper issue inside the league. The WNBA leadership clearly has an image it prefers and a narrative it wants front and center. Anyone who disrupts that narrative, even unintentionally, becomes inconvenient. Rather than letting fan interest dictate who rises, the league seems determined to decide that internally. This isn't about organic growth. It's about control. It's about selecting faces that fit a pre-approved mold and elevating them regardless of whether the audience actually responds.
Paige Bueckers is making an unprecedented off-court impact on the WNBA. Really? Paige Bueckers is already one of the most hyped and highly anticipated players in the WNBA years before she was actually drafted number 1 overall in the 2025 draft. Bueckers' skills on the court are undeniable. Her potential to continue to grow is vast. My goodness, okay.
That favoritism runs even deeper when you look at the influence of what many fans call the UConn pipeline. There's a long-standing network that ensures certain players stay visible no matter what. Paige Bueckers, with her UConn background, fits neatly into that ecosystem. That's how she ends up with deals from companies like CarMax and Fanatics. Those partnerships feel less like reflections of nationwide demand and more like the benefits of being connected to an entrenched system that consistently promotes its own. Meanwhile, someone like Caitlin Clark, whose appeal exploded outside of those traditional pipelines, had to fight through skepticism despite clearly outperforming everyone in actual engagement. And when you look at attendance numbers, the contrast becomes impossible to ignore. A Dallas Wings game featuring Bueckers drew just over 7,000 fans. That's fine, but it's not special. Meanwhile, Caitlin Clark is filling 20,000-seat arenas on a routine basis. Teams are literally moving games to NBA arenas just to accommodate demand when she's in town. No other player in the league is forcing that kind of logistical change across the board. That gap isn't marginal, it's massive. And no amount of marketing spin can erase it.
Now, my question to you. How many kids know who Paige Bueckers is? Number 1. How many kids' parents know who Paige Bueckers is? Number 2. And if you're walking in a toy store, whether it's Target, whether it's a toy section at Walmart, and you see this face on a box, who knows who this is? Seriously, who knows who this is? Same thing with the Nike logo that I said, just thrown together. Pieced together real quickly on the fly because they're not really fully invested, so they're just putting it out to put it out. They're not taking their time, they're just putting out slop to put out slop. So the slows can cheer and do backflips.
Even television ratings tell the same story. A game featuring both Bueckers and Clark pulled 2.1 million viewers on ABC. Remove Clark from the equation, and that number drops sharply. A Wings game without barely draw 500,000 viewers, which the league tried to frame as strong regional interest. That kind of selective framing says everything. Clark isn't just part of the viewership spike. She is the spike. Without her, the audience shrinks dramatically. Yet the league continues to pretend otherwise. This is where the agenda becomes most obvious. The WNBA isn't just promoting players based on basketball performance or fan interest. It's prioritizing certain demographic and ideological boxes. Paige Bueckers happens to fit that template cleanly. From her image to her associations, she aligns with the message the league wants to amplify. And that's the real reason she's being pushed so hard. This isn't just sports marketing, it's social signaling.
But Bueckers has been making off-the-court moves that are unprecedented for a WNBA player. Okay, let me stop right there. That's a lie. Unprecedented to who? You've seen how many sponsorships Caitlin Clark's got? Did you see that Nike ad? From anywhere? Last I checked, 50 million views. Come on, stop it. Stop it.
The problem is that fans can feel that disconnect. People don't like being told who they should care about. They want authenticity. Caitlin Clark's rise wasn't scripted. It wasn't polished. It happened because fans connected with her competitiveness, her confidence, and the way she plays the game. That connection can't be manufactured. When the league tries to overwrite it with a different storyline, it doesn't just fail, it actively turns people away. At the end of the day, this isn't about tearing down Paige Bueckers as a player. She's talented. She belongs in the league. But talent alone does not equal cultural impact. The WNBA is trying to blur that line, and fans are pushing back. Because when you compare organic star power to something that feels forced, the difference is obvious. One player moves crowds, ratings, and merchandise without trying. The other is being propped up by press releases and partnerships that don't translate to real engagement. Caitlin Clark didn't need an agenda to become the face of women's basketball. She earned it in front of packed arenas and national audiences. And the more the league tries to pretend that kind of pull can be replicated through messaging alone, the more obvious the hoax becomes.
Paige Bueckers signs a deal with Lego as she prepares to be the next Nike signature athlete. So here we go right here. And then there, okay, hey, why that gotta be Iowa Hawkeye colors? Oh, did I say that out loud? Why is that Iowa Hawkeye colors? Just wondering. I said right there, Lego may as well take that money and just burned it.
The deliberate push to crown Paige Bueckers as the league's off-court powerhouse reaches a new level of absurdity when you look closely at the recent Lego deal and the visuals surrounding it. Fans immediately noticed something that felt more than coincidental. The promotional images were drenched in Iowa Hawkeye colors, the very brand identity most closely associated with Caitlin Clark. That choice wasn't accidental. It looked like an intentional attempt to siphon attention from the fan base Clark built organically to borrow her momentum without acknowledging its source. It's a subtle move, but also a telling one. When a league starts dressing one player in another player's colors, it signals insecurity, not confidence.
Paige Bueckers is being incredibly forced upon us by ESPN, by WNBA reporters, and by these companies like Nike and Lego. Why is that? Well, because she checks the boxes. She checks the boxes.
Calling Paige Bueckers' off-court impact unprecedented isn't just misleading, it's insulting to anyone who has actually followed the sport. That headline reads like pure gaslighting. Fans are being asked to accept a reality that doesn't align with what they see in arenas, on television, or online. Attendance numbers don't support it. National ratings don't support it. Casual fan interest certainly doesn't support it. The WNBA can try to reshape perception through press releases and partnerships, but numbers don't bend to narratives. They tell the truth whether the league likes it or not. What makes this situation even more uncomfortable is how that same agenda appears to bleed onto the court. Over the past season, fans have noticed a disturbing trend of excessive physicality, particularly toward Caitlin Clark. Hard fouls, clotheslines, elbows, and contact that goes beyond normal competitive play have become part of the viewing experience. Some argue this isn't random. They see it as a physical extension of the broader attempt to contain the league's true breakout star. Whether intentional or not, the effect is the same. It raises serious questions about fairness, player safety, and whether outside agendas are beginning to influence the integrity of the game itself.
They tried to attach her to Caitlin Clark during Caitlin Clark's junior year, during Caitlin Clark's senior year. They tried to attach her to Caitlin Clark in any way, shape, or form that they possibly could. While Caitlin Clark is busy being a rookie in the WNBA, super senior Paige Bueckers is over there in UConn hooping it up, getting carried by AZ Fudd and Sarah Strong to a national championship.
Let's be blunt for a moment. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA does not command national attention. That's not disrespectful, it's factual. Strip her out of the equation and the league's visibility shrinks dramatically. You can see it in ticket sales, in ratings, and in media coverage. This reality becomes even more obvious when you compare it to what's happening elsewhere. The unrivaled league is gearing up to launch, yet there's almost no buzz, no countdown, no anticipation, no widespread conversation. Compare that silence to the frenzy that followed Clark's arrival, and the difference is staggering. The league's attempts to position other players as must-see attractions consistently fall flat. The lack of organic excitement is impossible to ignore. The WNBA keeps trying to declare Paige Bueckers as unrivaled in impact, but that claim collapses under even basic scrutiny. Where are the packed arenas? Where are the national spikes in viewership? Where is the cultural conversation? You don't see it. And it's not just about Clark versus Bueckers. There are plenty of talented players across the league, but the truth is that none of them, individually or collectively, are driving national interest the way Clark does.
Let's look at this, folks. Dallas Wing attendance, 7,273. Caitlin Clark is drawing 20,000 people. Paige Bueckers, her games did not get moved to American Airlines Arena where the Mavs play. Guess whose games did? If you said Caitlin Clark, you got that shit right.
This is why the league's messaging feels so hollow. They speak as if Paige Bueckers stands alone at the center of the sport, while conveniently ignoring the actual stars who move the needle. The irony is that this manufactured, unrivaled label doesn't just misrepresent reality, it disrespects everyone involved. It diminishes legitimate stars, and it insults fans who can plainly see who shows up and who doesn't. Declaring dominance doesn't make it real. Fans decide that, and they've already voted with their attention.
Paige Bueckers' WNBA debut averaged 639,000 viewers on ION. You think somebody with actual motion would be put on ION for their WNBA debut? Somebody that the masses cared about? Do you think they would be put on ION for their WNBA debut? Somebody that generates real traction, real ratings, real numbers would have ION be the platform for their WNBA debut?
The most uncomfortable question for the league remains unanswered because they don't want to ask it. How many people would truly have the WNBA season circled on their calendar if Caitlin Clark wasn't in the league? The honest answer is very few. Clark didn't just bring interest, she created it. She generated hype, storylines, and emotional investment that the league struggled to cultivate for decades. And instead of embracing that reality, the league has spent an extraordinary amount of energy trying to redirect attention elsewhere, as if pretending dependence doesn't exist will somehow make it go away.
Well, we look at Caitlin Clark. Her WNBA debut averaged 2.12 million viewers, and ESPN was smart. They said, I want that game. That Caitlin Clark WNBA debut, I want that game on my platform. ESPN was looking at this season's 2025. Who's got their WNBA debut? Anybody that we want? No, nobody that we want's WNBA debut. We'll pass on that. But they saw Caitlin Clark and they said, oh no, we got to get in on that. 2.12 million viewers on ESPN.
Inside league offices, that tension is palpable. It feels less like confidence and more like quiet rage. Not rage at dishonesty, but at the public's refusal to accept the story being sold. The leadership sees the numbers. They see millions tuning in for Clark and far smaller audiences elsewhere. That frustration likely fuels the aggressive push to elevate Bueckers at all costs. It's not about growing the league anymore. It's about preserving control over the narrative, even as reality keeps slipping through their fingers. This relentless promotion of specific players, regardless of actual demand, exposes a deeper structural problem. The league's decision-making isn't guided by audience growth or engagement. It's guided by ideological comfort. They prefer stars who fit a predetermined mold, even if that choice alienates fans who simply want honesty. That approach doesn't build loyalty, it erodes it. Fans aren't asking for perfection. They're asking for authenticity.
Manufactured motion. Forced star. She's getting forced upon us. Look at the attendance to the Dallas Wings games. My point exactly. Not sold out until a certain somebody visited, until a certain team came to town. Not sold out. And we're talking about a sub 10,000 seat arena. Not sold out.
When commentators and fans point out these inconsistencies, the response is almost always dismissal. Critics are labeled as outsiders, haters, or people who don't understand the game. That defensive posture only deepens mistrust. Every time leadership waves away valid criticism, it confirms what many already suspect. The league isn't interested in open dialogue. It wants compliance. And in sports, compliance never beats passion. What this entire situation reveals is a massive disconnect between the league's leadership and modern sports culture. Today's fans are savvy. They track data. They follow engagement. They can tell when something is real and when it's being staged. Trying to resist the natural rise of a transcendent star like Caitlin Clark doesn't protect the league's identity. It suffocates it. Clark didn't fit neatly into the boxes leadership prepared, and instead of adjusting, they doubled down on control. That's the real hoax here. Not Paige Bueckers as a player, but the dishonest attempt to convince fans that she represents something the evidence clearly disproves. The league is undermining its own potential by clinging to narratives instead of embracing reality. As the WNBA continues pushing a version of events that doesn't exist outside press releases, fans are left with a simple choice: believe the messaging or believe their own eyes. And more, they're choosing the latter. The empty seats, the muted buzz, the ratings drop without Clark. Those facts don't disappear because the league doesn't like them. The frustration you sense isn't just coming from leadership. It's coming from fans who feel talked down to instead of respected. The data tells the story clearly. Authenticity wins. Manufactured narratives don't. And until the league accepts that, this cycle will only continue. Why do you think the WNBA is pushing Bueckers so hard? Let us know down in the comments below. Like, subscribe, and turn on all notifications so you never miss out. Click the video on the screen, and we will see you in the next one.